Oh, happy hump day, my friends, and welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World. And on today's episode of the Prime, we're going to give you our fantasy football rankings for work number 2. But before we get up into that, let's hit it, little Izzy. Give us that trombone.
Go ahead,
Let's
hit
go.
it. Hit the intro with the trombone. Okay.
Yeah, very well done. Yeah. That's
There we
That's
go.
more trombone than I could ever play at any point in my life. So kudos to you, little Izzy. You keep rocking it, baby. I'm David Huffman. Right there is the CEO, Mr. Israel Rivera. And now that we're broken up by that trombone beat, that was good, man. That's solid. I like that.
That was solid. He's a beginner, man. He's got his he's already took a couple lessons. He's got for his first band session on Friday. So
yeah, nice. Solid stuff. Without further ado, let's start with our fantasy football rankings. How did fantasy go for you in week number 1?
I went 3-0, baby. Undefeated this week, probably for the first time in a long time that I swept all my leagues. This year, I'm not in so many leagues. I'm only in 3 leagues. Cut it down from like 10 to 3. I don't know why. But anyways, I think last year I think I was in 6 leagues. I cut it down to 3. But yeah, I'm 3-0.
I was in 7 last year. I lost every single match I was in besides this work league. I mean, where it's just we have 8 teams, so every team is super stacked. It's it is what it is. So I'm 1-4, and on top of that, I'm in this like survivor league too, where like the lowest point total in every single week, their team gets completely eliminated from the league. I've got eliminated from that league. I won it last year. I won the league, and I get knocked out in the first round. So it was a bad week for me in fantasy football. That's for sure. But I week number 2.
You know what? It was not only it was a bad week for you, it was a bad week for tight ends
and quarterbacks, kind of.
And quarterbacks. Yeah, the quarterbacks that are your favorite quarterbacks didn't play so well this week, or the ones that were kind of in that bottom half of the top 10, including one of the superstar guys that we'll probably talk about soon here.
So let's get into it. Let's talk about them rock throwers, actually. Let's talk about them quarterbacks, starting with number 1, Josh freaking Allen on my side, followed up by Lamar Jackson. I think he bounces back in a big way, going up against a bad Raiders team. Look for him to have 200 yards passing, 3 touchdowns in the air, another 100 yards on the ground. Lamar Jackson should have a fantastic game against the Carolina Panthers. And then Anthony Richardson at number 3. Yeah, going up against your Green Bay Packers. I kind of expect that Green Bay defense to be on the field a whole lot in that game. And I like what I saw at Anthony Richardson. I did not like what I saw out of the Green Bay Packers defense in week 1. So being on the field more with a subpar defense as it is, that's not a recipe for success. 4, CJ Stroud going up against my Chicago Bears. He looked awesome in week number 1. 5, Patrick Mahomes going up against Cincinnati. Patrick Mahomes just okay in week number 1. So I'll see if he can really get into rhythm there against Cincinnati. I'm not so sure. 6, Jalen Hurts. 7, Matthew Stafford. 8, Jared Goff. 9, Baker Mayfield, who's making Cleveland Browns fans really kicking themselves that they let that guy out the building, who's gotten better ever since he left. Number 10, I got Kyler Murray. My outside looking in, I got Tua Tagovailoa, Dak Prescott, and Kirk freaking Cousins in a game where I think he bounces back against the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football. And then my sneaky and daily on DraftKings, I got Justin Fields if he does get the start at 5,400. If he does not get the start, Russell Wilson's also worth 5,400 on that platform as well. So I would just pick whichever Bronco ends up getting the start. I would bank on it being Justin Fields. I don't really know how you justify him winning the season opener and then putting him on the bench. Like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I'm sure if he's inactive for a game, he won't be out there in his full pads. Like he's not able to play. So give me Justin Fields.
No.
5,400. Like
I think
it's such a Russell Wilson thing to do, to like be out there not inactive and wear full freaking pads. Like unreal.
Well, you know what they said? They said that he was the emergency quarterback.
I know, but he's inactive. He couldn't have played.
Yeah, I don't get that. how he can be inactive and be the emergency quarterback.
Yeah, right. Like if he's inactive, he can't play. Like, I don't know
either. But man, Justin Fields played a solid. They had a solid game plan. They actually took a really nice throw away from him, and they called George Pickens for offensive pass interference. Yeah. And it was like a dime. So I mean, I'm happy for Justin Fields. Anyways, yeah, man. Josh Allen, number one, man. He was actually my pick for
I mentioned it.
High point scorer. Yeah. Oh, did you mention it? Okay. Yeah. So he and so yeah, I think this week he has another great matchup going up against Miami. So yeah, I mean he's looked freaking amazing. Especially down in the red zone. We know he'll probably, sneak it in for a touchdown or get in there for a touchdown. Then number two, I got Lamar Jackson going against Vegas. We saw what happened last week, right? Against Vegas in the Chargers, right? They played the Chargers. Yep. So yeah, I mean the defense isn't up to snuffs, and I think Lamar Jackson exposed that defense. And number three, I got Jalen Hurts. Had a so-so game. I mean, I was, he threw that pick in the red zone where it was like, it would have put him in like top 5, I think, fantasy wise, in my opinion, if he makes that touchdown pass. Because I think he only came out with only like 23, 24 in PPR. He would have had at least 27, 28 points if he makes that throw. But he got picked up by Jair Alexander. By my Green Bay Packers, we took the L there. And then at number 4, I got Jaden Daniels. Man, I'm high on the rookie. I think he's got a decent matchup against the Giants. It's not a great
pretty
defense.
Good matchup against the Giants. I mean, he's also going to be like his ceiling, his floor is also pretty high because of the rushing stats. Like I think it'll be interesting to see what it looks like through the passing game because I just outside of Scary Terry, I just don't think the weapons are there. But
yeah, well, the one weapon I'll get to it. Austin Eckler was, kind of utilized a little bit more in the passing game as opposed to this rushing. It looks like they're using Brian Robinson in the running game. So, I mean, we'll see. That's TBD, but I do like Jaden Daniels just simply off of the fact that he's got that rushing ability. And number 5, Anthony Richardson. I expect him to take advantage of some, 3 and outs that, with the Packers offense. Probably, not going to have the greatest game with Malik Willis. I think going up against the Colts. I think the Packers are going to trying to lean heavy on Josh Jacobs, so that may play into the Packers' favor. But I think Anthony Richardson should have a pretty solid game because I mean, look, AJ Brown torched the Green Bay Packers last week, especially up the middle. And look, and so Alec Pierce and Michael Pitt. Alec Pierce for sure shocked me because he's looking like that nice deep threat for them, and then Michael Pittman kind of get him going and stuff like that. And then they got some weapons around Anthony Richardson. So I like that matchup. Number 6 got Pat Mahomes. Number 7, I got Tua Tagovailoa. I think that's going to be. I mean, Kyler Murray put up some yards against the Buffalo Bills. I think that's what we're going to see a trend here. I think Buffalo's going to kind of be in track meets all season long, and I think whoever can outscore the other. I don't think there's going to be much defense played in these games that Buffalo plays. So and then at number 9, I got Baker Mayfield. I love what I saw out of Baker last week. A little low this week, just because of the fact that he's going up against Detroit, and they showed a little bit of that defense last week. So I don't expect it to be all easy pickings for Baker Mayfield, but I do have him as a top 10 quarterback. And then CJ Stroud, a little lower on CJ than you are, but that Bears defense is a top 10 defense. They're gonna make it tough on them. The only thing is, I mean, those windows are gonna be small. The only thing is that where's that pass rush gonna come from for Chicago, on the other side for Chicago Bears? I saw they utilized some blitzes last week, so maybe they can do that and kind of get CJ off his spots. And then on the outside looking in, I got Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, and Brock Purdy on the outside looking in. And then my FanDuel, I went with Malik Willis at 6,800 just because of the fact he's cheap, and also, I mean, he does hold on to the ball a lot, and he takes a lot of sacks. But I will say this about Malik Willis: he did look solid in preseason before he got traded out of Tennessee. I mean, he's playing pretty well I think he outplayed both those there. I think he outplayed Will Levis and who's the kid from that they got from Pittsburgh. What's his guy? His name? No, not Kenny Pickett. It's the other guy. Mason
Rudolph. It's
I think Mason Rudolph. Yeah, I know. But Malik Willis, look for his rushing ability. They'll have a good plan. I think they'll have a good game plan. Anyways, and then
he's not an NFL quarterback. He's not an NFL quarterback. He's not good. Like,
okay,
I watched him start that game in Tennessee a few years ago. It was abysmal, and they brought in the Pasternaut because he was so bad.
Oh yeah, Ryan Tannehill.
No, the Pasternaut. Josh Dobbs.
I like that nickname. Did you just come up with that?
No, that's his nickname.
Oh, that's all his nickname. Okay. Yeah, and then I got Sam Darnold going up against his old team in San Francisco at 6,800. I like what I saw out of Sam Darnold. I think he did throw a pick in that last game. We all know that Sam Darnold has some turnover issues since he's been in the league, really since college. But that arm is still, pretty solid. And he's got weapons around him in Minnesota. Expect him to feed Justin Jefferson that football against San Francisco, who, in my opinion, San Francisco, they can give up some chunk plays, here and there. We saw it against, New York had some solid, plays against them. So I believe so. I believe they had some solid plays. I mean they got blown out by 15 points. Come on. Well, I mean, as long as he doesn't turn the ball over. Fantasy wise, if he can just get a bunch of chunk plays, get a couple touchdowns, don't turn the ball over.
He's got some pretty good weapons there. If you got Jalen Naylor, who came out kind of in that first game, you got the tight end situation. Yeah. I mean, I think, I would rather roll the dice with Sam Darnold than Malik Willis at the same amount of money. Like
exactly.
I'm out on Malik Willis entirely. Moving on from quarterbacks, let's move on to the running backs. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, no, I got Breece Hall number 1. Like that matchup going up against Tennessee, even though Tennessee showed a good defense. Saquon Barkley at number 2, man. I mean, Saquon had 2 touchdowns last week. I like him against Atlanta. Jonathan Taylor going up against Green Bay just because of the fact, man, look what Saquon Barkley did against that Green Bay defense. I like Jonathan Taylor to give me a couple touchdowns this week against Green Bay. I think Green Bay takes an L this week at home. It's going to be a rough 4 or 5 weeks for the Green Bay Packers. And then at number 4,
we got Ryan Tannehill to come on his white horse and save the day.
No. And then at number 4, we got Bijan Robinson going up against the Philadelphia Eagles, who, I mean, we saw, Josh Jacobs have some. I think, Bijan Robinson is a little bit more talented than Josh Jacobs. So, I mean, running between the tackles, catching the ball at the backfield. I like Bijan Robinson as a top 5 guy. And then Joe Mixon, round out my top 5. He had how many 33 touches, you said, David?
Yeah.
33 touches. I don't expect 33 touches every week, but if you do give them 33 touches against Chicago and they start, grinding it out, I like Joe Mixon. And then at number 6, I got Isaiah Pacheco. Number 7, I got Alvin Kamara, especially, Cincinnati. Look what Ramondre Stevenson did last week against Cincinnati. And then at number 7, I got Alvin Kamara, who had a nice game going up against Dallas this week. And then Kyron Williams at 8, Derrick Henry 9, and then rounding up the top 10 is Kenneth Walker the 3rd. And I'm outside looking in. I got Josh Jacobs as a fringe top 10 running back. He might be, at the end of the day, he might be fringe top 7 just because I think they'll rely a lot on the running game this week, especially with Malik Willis.
Like, he only had 13 or so carries last week against the Philadelphia Eagles. I look for him to have closer to like 25 touches. As I mentioned in the last segment, Malik Willis is just not good, dude. Like, he's just not a good quarterback.
Man, he's got to be good these next 4 weeks.
He won't
be. But David, I wasn't on the show yesterday, but Malik Willis has to be good these next 4 weeks for him to even for his career to continue in the NFL, right? Because if he has a good 4 weeks,
I don't necessarily
if he has a good 4 weeks, then a team will pick him up. A team will pick him up next year. Anyways, and then my last round of my top 13, I got Ramondre Stevenson, who had an excellent game against Cincinnati. He is going up against the Seattle Seahawks. And then FanDuel, Jordan Mason at 5,500 is pretty cheap. I don't like those calf and Achilles injuries. So it's at the running back position. So I expect Christian McCaffrey to stay out another game, especially this is a game they are going against inferior opponent in Minnesota. So I expect Jordan Mason to run that ball this week. And then at 5,900, I got Austin Eckler. I like what I saw, especially in the PPR league. I like what I saw out of him catching the football. I mean, let me say, after the third quarter, I think he had like 3 points, and then that fourth quarter hit, and he, went from 3 to like 8, 9 points or something like that, depending on what your league.
I do like Austin Eckler this week. I especially like him going up against the New York Football Giants. From your Rock Toters to mine, I'm going number 1, Jonathan Taylor. Saquon Barkley chewed you guys up. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to do much of the same. I also think their offense is going to be on the field a lot in this game. 2, King Derrick freaking Henry, who gave up 1 billion yards to J.K. Dobbins in the Los Angeles Chargers last week. Welcome to Derrick Henry to the Raiders. 3, Joe Mixon. Yeah, if he has 1 billion touches, he's going to be fantasy valuable. 4, Kyron Williams. I just think that's going to be a good game there for him against the Arizona Cardinals. James Cook had a pretty good game against them. 5, Breece Hall. 6, Isaiah Pacheco. 7, Saquon Barkley. Yeah, a little bit lower on Saquon, but I think Atlanta's defense is a little bit underrated, and they bottled up Najee Harris. Like, he was a basically non-factor in that game against them and the Steelers. 8, Bijan Robinson, going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. 8, 9, Kenneth Walker III. I'm a little bit worried about his injury, but I think he's going to give it a go. Number 10, J.K. Dobbins. The Chargers, they're going to continue to feed him as long as it makes sense. Who are they playing? Carolina? Yeah, they're playing Carolina. They're playing a terrible team, so he's going to be valuable. And then outside looking in, I got Josh Jacobs, Rashad White, and then Najee Harris. I think he bounces back in that game against Denver. Look for him to have a good amount of touches there. Kenneth Walker had a good game against them, and I think Najee Harris can do much of the same for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then my outside looking, we already touched on Jordan Mason, but I'll bring up Jordan McLaughlin for 4,500 for the Denver Broncos going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. He seems to be the pass-catching running back. That has pretty good value there in PPR leagues, and I think he may just continue to eat into Javonte Williams' production as we go through the season. Give me Jordan McLaughlin at 4,500.
That's cheap. I like that. I like Jordan McLaughlin. I didn't see that one coming. But the one thing about Denver is just like they're gonna need to rely on running the football, especially with Bo Nix at quarterback, having a rookie quarterback. So I do like that play that you're putting out there for Jordan McLaughlin. I didn't really see much where Javonte Williams separated himself from the pack. So
yeah. And Jordan McLaughlin in terms of touches, 15 for McLaughlin to 9 for Javonte Williams. And McLaughlin actually had more carries. Neither of them are extremely good or efficient in any of those carries. And the 5 catches for that McLaughlin caught went for a grand total of 1 yard. So,
oh my goodness, man.
So,
Jesus Christ.
Talk
about going backwards.
Yeah. Moving on from there, let's talk about the wide receivers, the pass catchers, and I got Cooper freaking Kupp as my number 1 wide receiver. I was disrespectful in my preseason rankings on Cooper Kupp. I didn't even have him in my top 20 wide receivers. Foolish on my part. Now that Puka Nacua is on the IR for the next 4 weeks, Cooper Kupp's going to have monster game after monster game. 2, Tyreek Hill. I expect it to be a bit of a shootout there for Buffalo. Tyreek Hill should have a good game. 3, CeeDee Lamb. 4, AJ Brown. 5, Deebo Samuel. I just love how they're using Deebo Samuel this season all over the field in the running game, in the passing game. It reminds me a lot of how he was used like 2 years ago before they got Christian McCaffrey. And as long as Christian McCaffrey continues to be banged up, Deebo Samuel's usage rate is going to be sky high. Number 6, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I had him as my number 1 scorer in fantasy last week. Obviously, that did not work out. I'm a little bit concerned, like the fact that Jameson Williams has kind of overtaken him a little bit in this offense because he just doesn't seem to be involved in the passing attack at all. He had that one pass that ended up getting picked off by there's the safety there for the Los Angeles Rams. I'm John Johnson. I'm a little bit concerned about his usage rate there in Detroit. But yeah, I still got him in my top 6, so I think he's still going to be fine. 7, Justin Jefferson going up against a tough defense. 8, Jamar Chase also going up against a tough defense and also did not look good. But he hadn't practiced, so let's see if things turn around now that the season kind of gets understarted. 9, Nico Collins going up against my Chicago Bears. And in the same game, I got DJ Moore rounding out my top 10. And then my outside looking in, Mike Evans, Amari Cooper, and Michael Pittman Jr. Devontae Smith and AJ Brown feasted on this Green Bay Packers defense. The Indianapolis Colts have weapons all over the place, including Michael Pittman Jr. and the guy who's sneaking in my daily at 4,500, Alec Pierce. And then I got Wan'Dale Robinson for 4,300 for the New York Giants. Seemed to be the kind of the preferred target of Danny Penny's there in New York. And then Michael Wilson, 4,300 for the Arizona Cardinals. Caught the lone touchdown for the Kyler Murray.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's got some value there at 4,300. He had a pretty solid rookie season last year as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I totally agree, man. At number 1, I got Tyreek Hill. Yeah, I mean, that 80-yard touchdown play, I think, like I said, going against Buffalo, I think it's going to be a high-scoring offensive game between both teams. And, yeah, Cooper Kupp, I got him at number 2. No Puka Nacua. He's going to be out with that PCL strain. It's a PCL strain, right? On his knee.
Yeah.
So he's going to be out for about 4 or 5 weeks. Same timeline as Jordan Love. So expect Cooper Kupp to kind of, elevate back into that number 1 slot again. Because Puka Nacua, before the season, it's really is like Puka Nacua and kind of Cooper Kupp was going to be like that number 2 receiver in the offense. But anyways, at number 3, I got CeeDee Lamb. Number 4, Amon-Ra St. Brown, who put up a stinker against the Los Angeles Rams. I expect him to bounce back this week against Tampa Bay. At number 5, I got Mike freaking Evans. He had 2 touchdowns last week. I like him against Detroit. And then Jalen Waddle at number 6. I got 2 Miami guys in the top 7. Jalen Waddle had a pretty nice game last week. I think he was the second leading receiver. But before that 80-yard bomb, I think he was the leading receiver before that big play by Tyreek, where Tyreek was kind of going through the emotions a little bit. But I like Jalen Waddle against Buffalo. And then my top 7, round on my top 7, I got AJ Brown from the Philadelphia Eagles. And then number 8, I got Justin Jefferson. Number 9, I got Garrett Wilson. And then round on my top 10, I got Nico Collins going up against the Chicago Bears. I know Stephon Diggs caught the touchdown passes, but Nico Collins was the guy that caught the big.
He had all the yards. He had over 100 yards in that game. So
over 100 yards, and he had all the catches. So I like Nico Collins going up, even though it's going to be a little tough sledding. I think against Chicago in Chicago. If I'm not mistaken, no, it's in Houston, right? Are they in Houston?
That game's in Houston. At
it might.
NRG
Yeah. Yeah, indoors. Yeah, so he might have a nice little game. But I mean, he's probably going to be matched up. I don't know if Jalen Johnson or whoever's going to match up against. Who do you think is going to match up against him?
I think they're going to put Jalen Johnson on Stephon Diggs.
So Nico Collins might have a nice little game against the Chicago Bears. Then my outside looking in, I got Rashee Rice, who's the clear number 1 receiver in Kansas City. Even though we did see Xavier Worthy, steal the show with break out a little bit, especially with the run, and I think he had that 1 touchdown catch as well. But still, Rashee Rice is still, I think, the number 1 guy that Patrick Mahomes is going after. And then Zay Flowers this week. I like Zay Flowers this week going up against Las Vegas. I know he had a little bit of a modest game last week, but I think he'll bounce back against the Vegas Raiders. And then, top 13, Jaden Reed, man. Because why? You know what? Because who else? Look. Okay. Don't hate on it. Don't hate on it now.
No, I love it, man. I think you remember what we talked about the Green Bay Packers on their season preview show. I said,
who's the number 1 guy?
Jaden Reed would be number 1 wide receiver when the season came to an end. And so far, who's been right? Me.
He's number 1. Yeah, you have been right. Well, yeah, Jaden Reed. What he caught?
He got 2 touchdowns. He caught
38.
He caught 2 touchdowns and he ran in another. He
ran in. I think he caught 1 and ran in 1. But he had 138 yards receiving. I mean, he is dynamic. I mean, you can like legit. I think Malik Willis cannot mess that one up. Like if Jaden Reed is going across the field, all you gotta do is just hit him on the numbers, and he's gonna take it and make a play with it. So that's why I say like they'll have a good game plan, kind of get Jaden Reed open. They're not gonna. I don't think they'll throw like those back shoulder throws to like Romeo Dobbs and stuff like that. But I think Jaden Reed has a lot of value this week. So yeah, going up against Indianapolis, and then my cheap options in FanDuel, I got Alec Pierce, 5,600 for the Indianapolis Colts. Had a touchdown, had caught a couple deep balls from Anthony Richardson. I like Alec Pierce this week. And then Jalen McMillan, the rookie from Tampa Bay, caught a touchdown pass. I like him as a third receiver, third option in the passing game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I like him at cheap at 5,200. And then my third option, Jordan Whittington. I know he almost got into the end zone. And my prediction would have been spot on because he almost got it. Anytime a cheap option in FanDuel or DraftKings gets in the end zone, you are spot on with your prediction. But it was a whole play that took it back, and I was just like so pissed off because I was like, damn, I was right. I was almost right. But here's the scoop. He had a really good preseason with Puka Nacua out. I know we saw the rest of the game. It was Tyler Johnson, Demarcus Robinson, and Cooper Kupp. I expect Jordan Whittington to kind of get more play there in the wide receiver, in the passing game this week. So I like Jordan Whittington. Again, he's really cheap at 4,300 going up against Arizona, who stinks on defense. So
before we move on into the tight ends, we got a Facebook comment here from Ural Jackson, who was lucky enough to go to Detroit Lions game for week number 1. So shout out to Ural. Hope you enjoyed the game. Hope you had a good time. He said he had so much fun at week 1 and the Detroit Lions won. So shout out to Ural. Thank you for watching us here at Prime Sports World, and I'm glad you enjoyed the Detroit Lions in week number 1. Moving on from the wide receivers to the tight ends, I'll let you go first with your number 1 tight end. I cannot believe you have this guy at number 1.
Yes. Yeah, man. You know what, man? I always say, like, man, Travis Kelce be number 1, but man, I'm starting to see just him slow down a little bit. Like he's getting up there in age. He's got all the hits. He's slowing down a little bit. He can take a break this week until he proves that he can be back in the number 1 slot. Going against Cincinnati, I think he'll have a good game. But yeah, Isaiah Likely is my number 1 tight end this week. He had a breakout party last week against the Chiefs. I think Isaiah Likely is the guy, especially Mark Andrews stunk it up. I think he caught 1 ball last week. He had 1 fantasy point. I think Isaiah Likely is the future of that passing game, the future of the tight end room. Isaiah Likely is number 1 in Baltimore. They have a good matchup this week against the Raiders. I like Isaiah Likely to have a repeat performance. And I think out of all the tight ends, he was number 1 tight end last week, if I'm not mistaken. So, anyways, Sam Laporta at number 2. At number 3, I got Travis Kelce. He's still in my top 3. At number 4, I got Trey McBride. Kyler Murray was really looking for him last week. Expect that the rest of the season. George Kittle. The only thing I was stopping him was a touchdown. A lot of these guys, man. Dalton Kincaid at number 6. At number 7, Kyle Pitts did catch a touchdown, which I'm surprised. I think he'll have a really decent year with Kirk Cousins at quarterback, since Kirk Cousins does like to utilize his tight ends a lot in the seams, and he looks for them. So Kyle Pitts is going to have a lot of value this year, I think. At number 8, I got Dallas Goedert. Number 9, Mark Andrews. Still got to put him in the top 10 just because of the fact that I think when you look at Baltimore, Lamar likes to throw the tight ends, and we saw Isaiah Likely. We saw with Mark Andrews all those years. And then, outside of Zay Flowers, I mean, they really, Rashad Bateman, give me another name. Hollywood Brown is Hollywood Brown hurt?
No, he's not. He's not even on that team anymore.
He's not on the team. Yeah, I don't even know. Yeah, so who the hell else is there to throw the ball to?
I think Baltimore's probably going to run a lot of 2 tight end sets. Like I think they're going to have 2 tight ends in the game a lot.
Yeah, so he's definitely in my top 10 at number 9. Then around out my top 10 is Evan Ingram, who had a stinker in week 1 as well. So I expect him to bounce back. If I'm not mistaken, they are going up against the Cleveland Browns. So that's why he's top. That's why he's so like at the bottom of the top 10, because he's just he's going up against a good defense. But anyways, on outside looking in, Brock Bowers. I like what I thought of the rookie, man. He got a lot of targets last week against the Chargers. So I expect him to continue to grow in that offense. And Gardner Minshew's a little bit of a wild card, right? I mean, I think he'll utilize. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's like he's on. If he's off, he's off. But I think, he'll look two things in that passing offense. I think it's Devontae Adams and Brock Byers. You'll see Michael Mayer try and get going a little bit. But I think Brock Byers, you can do a lot more with him, put him in a slot, put him out wide, a wide receiver, stuff like that. And then I have Pat Freiermuth and Taysom Hill as well. I think in order for New Orleans to, kind of pull off that, I don't want to say upset. I think it's enough. I mean,
it would be
obviously Dallas. It would be an upset.
If they beat the Dallas Cowboys, it would be an upset
in Dallas. Yeah, I think in order for them to kind of pull something off, they got to pull some gadget plays. Taysom Hill's going to get in the end zone this week. I'm calling it. And then my cheap option on Fanda, Juwan Johnson, Foster Moreau's injured. I think he's in the concussion protocol right now. Both of them caught a touchdown last week, if I'm not mistaken. Foster Moreau, I think, had more yardage. They were kind of like even in a way in terms of catches, but I think Foster Moreau had more yards. But I like Juwan Johnson this week. And then Kobe Parkinson this week. I like Kobe Parkinson going up against Arizona from the Rams. No Tyler Higbee. I think he's on a physically inactive to perform list still. Yep. So Kobe Parkinson is my guy at 4,800 in FanDuel.
Moving on from your tight ends to mine, I do not have Isaiah Likely at number 1. I have him closer to where he probably should be at 7. 1, Travis Kelce. 2, George Kittle. Yeah, I know those two guys weren't great in week 1. Neither was Sam Laporta, if we're being frank. But those three guys are kind of in a tier. But I just trust those three guys. They'll bounce back. I think they're going up against tough defenses in Baltimore Ravens, Los Angeles Rams, and the New York Jets. I think these matchups this week are going to be a little more favorable for these tight ends. For Trey McBride, yeah, I'm on the McBride bandwagon. I think he's going to be, when it's all said and done, he's going to stay in the top 4 all season long. 5, Evan Ingram. Look for him. I know it's a tough match against the Cleveland Browns, but I think he's going to bounce back. I think this target share is going to be there. 6, Mark Andrews. 7, Isaiah Likely. As I mentioned when you kind of mentioned Mark Andrews, I think the Baltimore Ravens are going to run 2 tight end sets a ton this season, and I think that's going to continue all year round. I think both those guys will have fantasy value. I also think both of those guys may cannibalize each other's market. I don't think you can know which one of those two guys is going to be better from any given week.
That wide receiver core stinks. I mean, Zay Flowers is the only guy, and then I just looked up the depth chart. Yeah, Hollywood Brown, my bad guys. He's on Kansas City, but it's Nelson Aguilar and Rashad Bateman. I mean,
yeah. We've seen the Nelson Aguilar show for several years now. So. Number 8, Kyle Pitts. 10, Dalton Kincaid. 9, number 10, Bobby Schultz's cousin, Dalton Schultz. I know he wasn't great in week 1, but I'm looking to bounce back against the Chicago Bears. And then Brock Bowers outside looking in. Yeah, I liked how they used him in the offense. I look for him to be more involved as the season goes on. Definitely taking Michael Mayer's role, whatever that role was last season. 2, Taysom Hill. Yeah, if they're going to beat the Dallas Cowboys, they're going to need to use Taysom Hill in a bunch of different formats. So look for him to throw a touchdown maybe in this game too. And 3, Dallas Goedert. I know it wasn't a great performance for him in week number 1, but I think he's going to be valuable down the stretch here. And then my outside look, and then my sneaky and daily at DraftKings, I got Mike Gesicki, who plays for the Cincinnati Bengals. If he hadn't dropped that touchdown or completed the catch, whatever it was in that game against the New England Patriots, I mean, he comes out of that fantasy game with a pretty solid day. He's probably the tight end 1 in there in Cincinnati. Joe Burrow kind of likes his tight ends. 3,100 for Mike Gesicki. And then Luke Schoonmaker. And if you don't know, I'm about to teach you something. He's on the Dallas Cowboys. Yes. Jake Ferguson is probably going to miss at least this week. So Luke Schoonmaker was a 2nd-round pick 2 years ago.
University of Michigan.
Yep, someone they're pretty high on. So 2,900 at the tight end position. I think he slots into tight end 1. I know there's another guy on the roster that his name is totally escaping me right now, but Luke Schoonmaker is the guy I want.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Jake Ferguson's out. Luke Schoonmaker's in. He's got a lot of talent too, man. Yeah. But I don't really expect. I think Dallas is more or less going to probably work into the outside, right, with CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks. So, but I like Luke Schoonmaker at 2,900. Roll the dice.
Yeah, it's pretty cheap.
Go out. Yeah.
From tight ends to the other side of the football, the defense, and I got the Baltimore Ravens at number 1, going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. I just think the Ravens are gonna they're gonna be hungry after what was not a great performance for them against the Kansas City Chiefs. 2 San Francisco 49ers going up against the Arizona Cardinals. The 3 the Pittsburgh Steelers going up against whoever's starting at quarterback for the Denver Broncos. It would be Bo Nix, but who didn't look good in week number 1. For the Chargers going up against the Carolina Panthers, and I got the Indianapolis Colts at number 5, going up against Malik Willis and the Green Bay Packers. I just don't think he's good. And then on the outside looking in, I got the Dallas Cowboys, New York Jets, and then they got the Kansas City Chiefs. Until that Bengals offense can kind of find its footing, I just don't trust that offense, and I think Kansas City is going to have a good game. And then my sneaky and daily is also the Colts at 3,300. And as I mentioned, I just don't think Malik Lewis is a good quarterback, and he will make mistakes. So, bam.
Man, you know, David, as the Bears fan, has come out of him in this. In this,
I'm not even.
No, because he has reminded me 5 times in this episode that Malik Willis isn't good. Okay, I know, damn it, I know he ain't good.
Okay,
I know he ain't good. You don't have to remind me 5 times that he just isn't good. We know he ain't good. Okay,
all right.
We're just hoping. We're hoping he's good. We're hoping for lightning in the bottle on the next 4 games. Anyways, my number 1 is the Los Angeles Chargers going into Carolina. Bryce Young he's gonna be on his way out of the NFL pretty soon. 5'10", 5'11" quarterbacks don't make it. They're an anomaly. And he's looking like he's in that class. And I don't think anybody on the Carolina Panthers is ready for that Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack like tandem. So it is going to be a field day for the Los Angeles Chargers, especially against that offense. And number 2, I got the Pittsburgh Steelers. Going up against a rookie quarterback. They are going to make it very difficult for Bo Nix. And who's going to stop TJ Watt? Nobody on that Denver Broncos offensive line is going to stop TJ Watt. Number 3, I got the New York Jets. I just like their matchup against Tennessee. We saw what Will Levis did, made some bonehead plays. I like that secondary against Will Levis. I like that front 7 against Will Levis. And then at number 4, I like the Baltimore Ravens as a top 4 team. I mean, those other 3 teams, I'm not saying that the Baltimore Ravens aren't like worthy of being number 1. I just think that those other 3 teams have better matchups, in my opinion. I think with the Baltimore Ravens, I think, Gardner Minshew will make some plays as opposed to those other guys. Bryce Young ain't making plays. Bo Nix is going to make mistakes, and Will Levis is going to make mistakes, in my opinion. I think Gardner Minshew will make mistakes, but he'll actually have more chunk plays against that Ravens defense. But we'll see. And then I'm on my top 5. I got the Dallas Cowboys. They're when it comes to like turnover differential and touchdowns, scoring touchdowns on defense and special teams, especially with Kevontae Turpin back there going up against New Orleans. I like the Dallas Cowboys as the top 5 defense all season long. And I'm outside looking, I got the Indianapolis Colts. Yes, Malik Willis is not good. Okay? We know Malik Willis isn't good. So Indianapolis Colts round out my top 6. And then I got the 49ers and the Houston Texans going up against the Chicago Bears at home, where it's going to take a couple weeks. It was a bad showing for Caleb Williams against the Tennessee Titans. I think the Houston Texans got a better defense on the road. We'll see. But I didn't like what I saw out of Caleb Williams in the offense. And then round out and then my cheap option in FanDuel is the Seattle Seahawks at 4,000 going up against the New England Patriots, who are pretty much one-dimensional right now at this juncture. It's pretty much Ramondre Stevenson and just Jacoby Brissett. Don't mess it up. So I like the Seahawks to kind of muck things up for them.
We got Ural Jackson back in the comments section. Appreciate you. Keep watching, my friend. He told us the Ravens lost Patrick McQueen to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and yes, that is true. The middle linebacker for the Ravens is now one of the starters for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's tough. But yeah,
when did that happen?
in free agency.
Preseason? Free agency?
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I thought that was like a trade. Golly. I'm like,
No,
I thought he was breaking news or something. I thought he was breaking news on the
no.
podcast.
That
What was
happened
he
this
talking
morning.
about?
Before we get up out of here, as we do on every single episode of Prime Sports World, Lethal Fantasy Football Weekly Show, we try to predict who will be the number one scorer when the week is over. In week number 1, do you know who the number one scorer was? You should.
Josh Allen.
No, it wasn't. Josh Allen finished 4. Saquon Barkley was number 1 with 33.2 points. He had 109 yards on the ground.
What did Josh Allen have?
31.18 fantasy points.
God, he was right there.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp was number 3. Jaden Reed was number 2, and Baker Mayfield rounds up the top 5. And shockingly, Jaden Daniels with that rushing total, he rounded out the top 6 guys. And Alan Lazard, who caught a garbage time touchdown at the end of that
game. No, it wasn't a garbage time touchdown. It was a free play.
He caught another touchdown later in the game. That was
he got another touchdown later. I turned that game off. So
me too.
Wowzers. Wowzers. Anyways.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns in that game. So who do you think is going to be the number one scorer when it's all said and done this week?
You know what? When it's all said and done, I'm gonna go with Breece Hall.
I'm staying at the running
up against Tennessee.
I'm staying at the running back position, but I'm going Jonathan Taylor going up against the Green Bay Packers. I think Lightning will strike twice. The Packers defense just didn't look good, and I think they're going to be on the field a lot during this game. So give me Jonathan Taylor as the number one scorer in fantasy. 2 more housekeeping things before we get up out of here. Shout out to my Aunt Judy, who gave us a big shout out on my Facebook, sent me a message. She really appreciated the intro to today's show with little Izzy getting on the trombone. So thank you to my Aunt Judy. Thank you so much for being such a loyal fan of Prime Sports World. We appreciate you here for damn sure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, Aunt Judy, for the compliments.
Yeah. And then one last thing, as this is the 23rd anniversary of the September 11th terrorist attacks, we just want to give our condolences and thoughts to anyone who lost anyone during those attacks, as our country should never, ever forget what happened that day and the way we kind of felt after that day. We kind of united our country. Like, we could use more of that in today's world than we have, especially right now with how divided the country is. So let's not forget how we felt as a country after.
Unity.
Yeah.
Yes, unity. Yes, I say I share my same sentiments as everybody knows where they were on September 11th. So yes, I share the same sentiment as David. Yeah.
But yeah, thank you very much for joining us. I'm David Huffman. Right there is the CEO, Mr. Israel Rivera. And Izzy, what do we do here at the Prime, my friend?
We bring the heat, ladies and gentlemen. Bringing the heat. Hey, Israel, you want to kick an outro? Now, you want to do an outro?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Let's do the outro. Let's do the
outro. Let's go.
Come on, son.
Get that trombone.
Get the trombone for the one time. There you go. Put it together. There you go.
Here we go.
Hey, you should have had it ready already. Come on.
Here we go.
Here we go. A couple minutes. Come on now.
Here we go.
Yeah, there we go. Adios, he said.
On that note, we'll be back here on Monday, or actually Friday. You're doing College Football Weekly, I think, or College Football Showdown on Friday. I won't be back until Monday. Y'all have a good weekend. Enjoy week number 2 of the National Football League. Be safe and peace out.